this is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you?
Boring. 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 Boring.
You gotta work. Don't tell us what we're gonna feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're gonna feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's exactly what you're doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're gonna feel.
I call again for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the return of the sausages, the hostages.
Welcome to another edition of Lembit OPIC Live here on unprecedented.tv. And first of all, may I thank you. Our numbers are going up, and it's all thanks to you. Maybe you're retweeting, maybe you're liking it, maybe you're finding us on YouTube. We've just started there, a small and growing following, but a large and growing following on X. And we started there because we understood it. And now we're branching out, and you'll be able to find us on Rumble and many other places too. Big thanks to the team. They're working really hard. Why? Because we're expanding. We're getting more and more people joining us in terms of being guests, but more importantly, even more importantly, as presenters. And you may have noticed that we've got new programs coming up. We've had a discussion with Christine Joanna Hart, who'll be doing Inside the Mind, when she explores extreme human behavior, good, bad, and ugly. Everything from unusual, you could even say unprecedented, examples of generosity through to serial murderers and even war, which in a way is mass killing as well. What causes people to behave in those ways? Well, Christine Joanna Hart will be talking about all of those things on her program. We've also got Claire Dyer with Dire Consequences. She makes local campaigns a success, but those local campaigns relate to things all over the country and even all over the world. So she's kicked off as well now. We've got good old Basil Valentine, Tim Scott with Tim Scott Uncancelled, and many more. Warren Thornton will be joining us too pretty soon with a whole heap of ideas and many hours of broadcasting. So thank you for keeping the faith with us. I really appreciate that you're here with us on the pioneering days. And when we've got millions of viewers, you can say you are amongst the first. Please like what we do. Please retweet what we do. That's all I really ask, assuming you like it, of course. Now, we've got a very interesting and perhaps even unexpected guest today. You may have heard of the Mohawk Nation. Maybe you haven't. You may have heard Mohawks in the context of the kind of cowboy and Indian films that we maybe all grew up with. But what does it mean? Is it just fiction? Is it from the past? Far from it. In recent weeks, the Mohawk Nation has actually awakened, and they've been campaigning for years for what I'm about to tell you, for, wait for it, their independence. The United States of America celebrated its Independence Day on the 4th of July, but not everyone in the United States is independent. That's true of the oldest nationals on the continent, and that is the American Indians. They lost their independence to an extent, even though they're older than America. Arguably, and I would argue this, they pretty much invented the American Constitution, and yet they're subjugated by a nation that speaks freedom but causes others to cry for freedom within that country itself. Why am I talking about this now? It's because I've realized something very important. The Mohawk Nation, which consists of very dedicated and age-old traditions, is requiring its independence. This has been thrown to the forefront on account of the fact that the King of the United Kingdom, King Charles III, made a special effort, almost an unscheduled stop, to meet with the First Nation representatives, these people. And that's tremendously significant because it really identifies a recognition of their independence. This has given new impetus to their campaign. And as somebody who believes in self-determination myself, I believe it's time for us to hear what they have to say. So I'm very pleased to welcome to the program today a representative of the Mohawk Nation, and this gentleman here is more than just a representative. He's a campaigner. Tehahon, I get this wrong. Tsjhsóon Kwe. Get me out of my misery. My name's strange enough.
All right.
How do I say it?
Tehahon Tsjhsóon Kwe.
Oh, it wasn't far off.
No, you're
Tehahon
doing good. You're doing good.
Well, thank you very much indeed. It's a tremendous and alliterative name. And tell us something about yourself first, and your involvement with the Mohawk tribe, which in itself has an actual. What's the correct name for the Mohawks?
Well, so we are the Iroquois Kenyage government, and we are, because the French weren't able to say that, anywhere close to how we would describe ourselves, but as the Iroquois Kenyage. So they basically came up with the Iroquois, and so for the layman and most people, they'll recognize us as the Iroquois Federation, which is comprised of several different other nations that we've all come together centuries ago and created what is now everybody knows as the Iroquois Federation.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
And so my name is Tehahon Tsjhsóon Kwe, Nick Betancourt, and I am Minister of Communications for the Iroquois Kenyage government.
So let's get to the brass tacks straight away. You have a national identity, you have a language, you have traditions, you have a government. That's true as well, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we do. Actually, so what has happened is that we have been dormant for far too long. And what has happened through time is that now, the younger generation has gone out and gotten educated in the ways of our enemies, basically, and has come back home. And now we are pushing towards the implementation of our own governance that has been in effect for over a millennia. But now we're really doing it where we're pushing for the international recognition, and we've come a long way from what we used to be. The previous generation really wanted to basically remove themselves from what was going on in modern culture and between Canada and the United States, because our territory sits between both borders. And now it's more of the younger generation that has come back, that is now educated and has technology and has real world solutions to a multitude of different problems on a global scale. And now we're back in to basically put forth that effort to the world.
And that's traditional headdress that you have there, I assume.
Yes. Yeah. This all of us, we have to make our own headdresses ourselves, and there's a process behind it, and culturally and physically, you have to make it yourself.
I feel ashamed that I sometimes wear a cap which I bought from a shop because it was cheap. I can't compete with your inspired appearance there.
No, this is nothing compared to Chief's headdress or Minister of Finance, or Jeremy's headdress. I'm not so good with it. I need some help with it.
You're looking at the wrong person. Yeah. I never win awards for my sartorial elegance, I can tell you. You mentioned Chief, though, and one of the reasons we're talking is because of an absolutely inspiring, understated, powerful, clear exposition of the issue, and I only saw it for the first time yesterday. I'd like to play a small clip of it, but tell us what we're about to see and who the chief is.
So let's see. This is a public address from Chief. That he is the chief of the Wolf Clan and the Mohawk, and his name means he who drags the sun, and his name is Raleigh Quisle, and he is addressing the public for a number of different points that now have to come out to light. One of the main ones being the establishment of our own governance, which we've done for over a millennia. So it's nothing new for us, but for the rest of the world, it is. And he is addressing concerns because there are still certain government-funded agencies from both Canada and the U.S. side that are still trying to assimilate a sovereign people. And for us, it's all about sovereignty. And we've protected our sovereignty throughout the millennia. We've never been conquered. We've never been pushed from our lands. We've actually helped the colonists and the settlers. They based the Constitution on our system of governance that's been in place for over a millennia. And so Chief addresses these sorts of issues that we're dealing with right now, but in a very public way.
So let's have a look at this. It's 7.5 minutes long, but I'll just play a couple of minutes on a future occasion, because I absolutely intend to direct unprecedented TV to support this campaign. The great thing about having a TV station is I can make decisions like that. But as a libertarian, it seems absolutely compelling to support this. I should say that my late parents' nation, Estonia, lived under subjugation for a long, long time, and I was involved in the independence movement. Took a few personal risks there. Didn't realize really how dangerous it was, but Estonia got its independence, and so I've had a first-hand experience of this. Maybe that's one reason I should declare an interest, because I see the Mohawk nation, well, in fact, the original inhabitants of the Americas being in the same situation. But enough of me. Let's watch this. I think it's breathtaking, really.
Kwe Sego from the Wolf Clan, to all my relations, to the clans, villages, and communities across Turtle Island. I am Lala Guizle, acting Prime Minister of the Ilaqua Ne Ganyage government, the Iroquois, keepers of the Eastern Door. It is with deep respect for our ancestors and with great vision for our future that we address you today. Under the auspices of the Guyana Lagoa Great Law of Peace, we invite you all to join us in a new chapter of unity, sovereignty, and shared prosperity. We are the sovereign Ilaqua Ne Ganyage peoples. We are not under the U.S. or Canadian jurisdiction. We are our own sovereign, independent nation. Our first recognition was in 1710 from Queen Anne of England and Peter the Great of Russia as the original keepers and defenders of North America, Turtle Island. We have always maintained our sovereign territory and has never received monies or ceded to the U.S. or Canadian governments, including any form of contracts or agreement. We are the original authors of the U.S. Constitution as it is based on our structure of governance.
That's pretty much what you were saying there.
Yeah.
I'll play the whole thing on another occasion, but it really was watching this that made me realize the extent of the injustice going back hundreds of years, recognized in 1710 by Queen Anne
Yes.
in England and by Peter the Great in Russia, two great nations at the time. And yet you live under the shackles of essentially subjugation.
So for quite some time, it was, even though we have treaties in place and constitutional protections for us and our sovereignty and our people and our territory, it's really gone it's fallen on deaf ears, basically. And so now that's why there's that time of dormancy is over. And that's why we have come together and we are organizing and structuring our governance so we can push these other entities out of our territory.
You're not planning to declare war, are you?
No, we are a peaceful people. And this is, and obviously through, time, as time has gone on, we've learned that, obviously that the pen is mightier than the sword. And so now with our sovereignty, we have every ability and privilege to be able to enforce what has been dormant for so long.
You rightly mentioned there's been, if you like, a dormancy, which is really a tolerance, never a forgetting of what happened, but an enduring of it. And the chief, the acting prime minister, mentioned the royalty in Britain and most recently, of course, King Charles III, the current incumbent as the head of the royal family and head of the Commonwealth, paid a visit and very significantly, it seems to me, he met representatives of your nation. Let's have a look at what actually happened. It's very interesting.
On the tarmac to private audiences, First Nations culture was highlighted during the first day of King Charles' visit to Canada. That was part of the opening welcoming ceremony for the King and Queen, and then late yesterday afternoon, a scheduling change was made, and the King held audiences with Assembly of First Nations National Chief Cindy Woodhouse-Neepanak, ITK President Nathan Obed, and President of the Métis National Council Victoria Pruden. So for more on the concerns that Indigenous leaders would want to bring before the King, we're joined this morning by Cody Grote, Assistant Professor, History and Indigenous Studies at Western University and the chair of Canadian Commission for the UNESCO Memory of the World Advisory Committee. Cody, good morning.
Good morning.
Listen, we know these visits with His Majesty are private. There's no press allowed. But first of all, I'm curious, what does it signify that in this very short visit, just 24 hours, the King held audiences with all three leaders?
I was surprised to see the King having these meetings because the official itinerary that was released last week did not have these scheduled. He only had scheduled audiences with Governor General Mary Simon and with Prime Minister Mark Carney, as well as his lieutenant governors or his provincial representatives. So seeing these three meetings added in, I don't know the context for why those might have occurred, but I think it's definitely both symbolic and practical. And that's one thing Inuit Tapiriit Kanatami President Nathan Obed said. These meetings are going to be practical with the King.
Yeah, so then maybe delve into that a little bit. What could practical mean? What would be the key issues that in this limited amount of time they have with the sovereign that they would bring forward that would be of great importance?
I think King Charles is very politically aware, obviously. I don't think he'll delve into policy issues because he knows that's not his place necessarily. There's a new prime minister. He's going to be reading the speech from the throne, articulating Mark Carney's legislative priorities, but the King himself will stay away from those legislative conversations. I think King Charles will try to build a relationship, I would say, with these three national Indigenous leaders without delving into specific policy issues. But the fact that he's having these meetings is still very important and significant. We didn't see that with his predecessor, Queen Elizabeth II, and King Charles has had meetings with the leaders of these three organizations regularly. They were at his coronation. He's had meetings with them in Buckingham Palace. So I think we can see he's consistently nurturing this relationship in a way that That's
the interesting thing. Now, it seems to me this is very, very important because we're seeing somebody here at the very top of the tree in terms of status in the United Kingdom, sending a clear message, because he did meet these people when they came to the United Kingdom 2 years ago. How do you interpret King Charles III's actions?
Well, for us, obviously, it was a very supporting, because he didn't have he didn't have these meetings scheduled. So the olive branch being sent out was hugely significant. But part of it that we know that also has to do with a lot of the conflict that's going on between the Indigenous people and the government of Canada. There's a lot of disputes that are going on land-wise, territory-wise, cultural-wise, because of the attempt of Canada to try and take control of unceded lands, and having King Charles address that publicly and siding with the Indigenous people is huge. For us, it really reinforces treaties from centuries ago, where the whole aspect of being allies with the monarchy. And so for us, that's also very important that we continue that dialogue. And this concerns a lot of the population of Indigenous people that are living in Canada. And so with us, it's a little bit different. We have our territory literally sits on both sides. The St. Lawrence River divides both countries, and our territory is all along both sides of the St. Lawrence River. And so for us, it's one of those things where, we want to be able to continue that dialogue. And it was impressed upon us that that King Charles even read one of the letters of the leaders that he met, where she spoke about Canada talking about cutting treaties with the Mohawk and the Indigenous people in Canada. And it was even mentioned about if they do cut treaties with the Indigenous people, then in international law, everything reverts back to the day before the treaty was signed. And that would mean that the Mohawk and the Algonquin would own all the land once again.
That's a lot of land.
Yes. Well, you have to keep in mind, our original recognition in 1710 from Queen Anne and Peter the Great of Russia was recognizing us as the original landowners of all of North America. And this is where we're at now.
Yeah. That must strike fear into the opportunists and the descendants of the people who grabbed that land. I'm also acutely aware of the fact that if the groups that you represent had recognition from Queen Anne in 1710, that was 66 years before the independence of the United States from the United Kingdom. You literally predate America. But actually by thousands of years, isn't it? It's not just hundreds.
Yes, literally. Yeah, that's one of the things that, in my travels and in my dialogues with our other brothers and sisters, that through North America with the other tribal nations is for me one of the points that I always try and emphasize, that the reality is that we were here 10 millennia before they even knew we existed. And we had empires. We were hugely successful in trade and survival and creating our own governance. There's it's not just, well, for us now, there's a whole push towards the unification of all the indigenous tribes, and that's an old prophecy.
Yeah.
It's the eagle and the condor, and so it's very important.
There's a whole entire program that we can do about that. It's so evocative, and it's so absorbing to hear this, because it's got a depth to it, and you have an authority when you speak about it too, which makes it exciting. It's true that the indigenous populations of Canada have quite clearly been abused. There has been that great scandal over the last few years about how indigenous children were basically killed and buried. That must cause great pain and I imagine anger amongst your people.
Our chief, Barclisa, he was literally one of the last survivors of those residential schools. Him and his brother survived. His uncle did not.
So shocking. And again,
this is not that long ago either. This is literally in the late 60s.
I intend to, I know it's so recent. I intend to, and yet these Western countries preach to others about how to behave. They preach to others about how to be good citizens of the world, and they even go to war when they think other nations aren't living up to those standards. The double standards are absolutely breathtaking. Now, I noticed also the team was doing research, and there's quite a lot of literature at the moment. Tell us about this. What is this this document? The government older than America, it says here. What's that about?
Yes, well, that's because like I was mentioning before, our system of governance has been in place for over a millennia. The Constitution, which we helped write and is based on our governance, it's very clear in the sense that they have their in the American system, and the Constitution has the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch. Well, for us, it is the Wolf Clan, the Turtle Clan, and the Bear Clan. And all of those, if you do a Google search, you'll be able to find the Iroquois Constitution, and you'll see all the similarities. And to that point, in 1987 and 88, the 100th Congress got together, the U.S. Congress got together and actually made an amendment to the Constitution, recognizing those contributions from the Iroquois and the Mohawk in the actual formation, the formation of the Constitution and the formation of the nation itself.
So it truly is the case that your nation, by definition, is older than America, because America's a rather latecomer compared to your culture, your community, and your nation. So, what does that mean in terms of the practical next steps?
So, for us, in that same amendment, there is a recognition of our sovereignty and our independence, and so we are, because of our sovereignty, we're the only ones that are able to even issue our own passports. Mm-hmm. We have our. You have to think of us as something similar to Monaco, something similar to Luxembourg, Estonia, the Vatican. We are our own sovereign, independent nation, and in that amendment, it recognizes us government to government. So now for us, it is a matter of bringing everything to modern day, and so it is literally about us going forward and getting those mutual recognition of sovereignty from modern day governments, because we've not only gotten educated and built our modern system of governance, but we've also built our own banking and financial structure and institutions. So, for instance, we built the world's first sovereign indigenous banking system and the world's first bank of indigenous international settlements. So that way we can have those government to government conversations, have the mutual recognition of sovereignty, be able to go into trade directly government to government. So that's for us our next steps.
Of course, modern day America is very happy to trade on the glamour of the tribes, glamour of the nations. For example, here's an example I particularly like. You probably know this. It's Piper Seneca, and they've got the Piper Navajo. So they're very willing to trade on the glamorous aspects of your nation. But they don't give you royalties, do they?
No. Royalties or credit.
No. Piper Warrior, Piper Seneca, Piper Navajo. I'm sure there are others, which I've forgotten now. And they hark back to that exciting glamour, that deep tradition, but they don't really want you to have your rights back, by the sound of it. I'm beginning to sound like a freedom fighter. Probably they'll turn you into prescribed organization, and then I'll get a knock at the door from the thought police because I'm supporting your rebel yell.
Well, for us, it's not so much a rebel yell. It's more of a yell for our independence that's been there for centuries.
The fascinating thing for me is that you are now getting organized. And as I say, it's come to my attention. Oftentimes we just deal with current affairs, but this seems so important to me that I wanted to use my precious time on air to share this and to make a commitment. I'm very determined in whatever way I can to use the offices of the team. I've talked to the team here. We're all very keen on doing it. And to see what we can do. I detect a frustration as well, because all you're trying to do is get back what is yours.
Yes, and I really think it's more of exercising what's already ours, and really is putting it on a global platform. Because for us, it's not just for us in our territory, but it's also for all of the indigenous peoples in North, Central, and South America. And we have those meetings and we have those treaties in the beginning of the unification of all of the tribes and tribal nations throughout Central and South America as well.
And in a cultural context, let's consider what America has. Taylor Swift and Lady Gaga, good at what they do. But you have this. It's impressive that it hasn't been lost, that this is still being celebrated for time immemorial, really. I actually quite like the music of Lady Gaga and Taylor Swift, but it doesn't have quite the same cultural significance, does it?
Yeah, no, not so much. I mean, they have, not to knock them or say anything negative about them, but they have their own cultural significance and their own prowess, if you will.
So what's next on the agenda specifically? What do you need to do next?
So for us, I think our next step will be to probably invite Chief so he can also speak with you and meet with you and give you a little bit more of history and where we're at now, and what our missions are and what we're doing. But for the time being, before he speaks with you and gives you that information and lets you know what we're doing, a little sneak peek into everything is that we are planning a trip to London. We have Chief actually has the wampum treaties that King Charles was looking for when he went to Canada, and Chief would like to obviously share that with him. There are the wampum treaties that are right now in London in the Historical Museum, where it sits to this day. But then we also have our own that Chief carries with him. Mm-hmm. So for now, that's something that's definitely in the coming days for us to travel there and rekindle those recognitions from 1710.
Well, if I can be of service, I'd be delighted to. I'm not being a wallflower about this, because this is truly a fight for independence and for right. And it's my honor to actually be speaking with you. It's so exciting, and I hope viewers really hear, perhaps for the first time, the great injustice which great America has meted on the unfree in the land of the free. Thank you so much. Tehahon Tsjhsóon Kwe, is that right?
Tehahon Tsjhsóon Kwe.
Tsjhsóon Kwe. I was making it too difficult. Tehahon Tsjhsóon Kwe. Thank you. It's a real pleasure to speak with you, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Before I go, where can people find out more about this whole campaign and your nation?
So we have our website is the inkg.org, and that it stands for Iroquois Kenyake Government.org. You can find updates and information on the services that our government provides for our people, who we're meeting with, where we're traveling, what's going on internationally and government to government. You can find out everything there.
Tehahon Tsjhsóon Kwe, got it right in the end.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
That was Tehahon Tsjhsóon Kwe from the Mohawk tribe. I'll use the word I can't say there. And I think that I'd like to be involved in that campaign. I hope you would be interested too. I'll talk with him and his people about the prospect of starting a program called Mohawk Nation, and to do our part to help right this wrong. Just because they've been waiting a long time doesn't mean they have to wait much longer. I hope you find that interesting. Not what I was really expecting to do this week, but I was so motivated and, to be honest, moved by their graceful determination that I wanted to give them this airtime. And let's remember, King Charles III is making all the signs that he agrees to. Thanks very much for watching. Thanks to Tehahon Tsjhsóon Kwe for being with me today. He'll certainly be back here, and I hope that you will join the campaign to give them the independence that they should always have had and never deserved to lose. I'm Lembit Opik. This is Lembit Opik Live on unprecedented.tv. Watch for more programs coming up as well. We really are expanding now at a rapid rate of knots. I hope you like the service, and you can find the archive at Unprecedented TV on YouTube as well. And we're adding to that, we're populating to that with the countless shows we've already done. Thanks very much. Have a great day. Thanks for watching it live, or thanks for joining us as live. And we'll see you very soon. All the best for now.
This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you?
Boring. Boring. Boring.
telling you,
Because you're in no position to dictate that. Remember this. You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
I call again for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the return of the sausages, the hostages,